Welcome to the Bellamy Mansion. Today we're going to explore this beautiful antebellum home in the heart of downtown Wilmington. The Bellamy Mansion is located at 503 Market Street, Wilmington, North Carolina, just a few blocks from the Cape Fear River. The home was built in 1859 by James F. Post, the premier architect of Wilmington at the time. He was hired by Dr. John D. Bellamy, the owner of the house. The home was a mixture of Greek Revival and Italianate styles, which were prevalent in the antebellum style of this period. The last Bellamy, Ellen, died in 1946, and years later, in 1972, the home was transferred to a nonprofit Bellamy Mansion, Inc., which now uses it as a museum of history and design arts. On the right, you'll see the carriage house. This carriage house was rebuilt in 1946 due to major damage, and now houses the museum's visitor center, but at one time was home to many carriage horses, even cows, and used the upstairs as storage. Now let's go to the slave quarters. These slave quarters were a two-story brick building. Approximately 9 African American slaves lived here. We know some of their names: Sarah, the cook, Guy, the butler and coachman, and Joan, the nurse to the children. In one of the rooms downstairs, we see the washroom, an area used to collect laundry from the Bellamy home and wash and dry and return it. Upstairs, there are 3 bedrooms. Unlike many slave quarters of this time, there were many windows to provide light. Another bedroom on the left and a privy on the right. This slave quarters had 2 privies. A privy is similar to an outhouse. These ones were only accessible from the outside. As we leave the slave quarters, we can see the beautiful yard and the back of the house. The yard was used as a working area with a well, coal storage, a poultry shed, and a cistern. On the right, you can see 2 of the home's original oak trees. Now let's walk to the front of the house. Although these plants were not original to the home, they are in the style of that period. The oyster shell paths were common during this time. As we make our way to the front of the home, we begin to see the true grandeur of the house, with its pillars and staircase, and its great detail in the front door. Now let's go inside. Here we see the Great Hall. These floors were originally carpeted, but were replaced with parquet flooring in the mid-20th century. To the right, we have the double parlor. This parlor was used for entertaining. It had pocket doors and was ornately designed with mantelpieces, art, and light fixtures. The back parlor had a piano. These white marble mantelpieces are the only marble mantles in the home. The ornately designed light fixtures were from Cornelius and Baker Company, all the way from Philadelphia. This room also has 2 portraits of Dr. Bellamy and his wife. They were done by the oldest Bellamy daughter, Mary. If we walk across the hall from the back parlor, we enter the library. Unfortunately, in 1972, an arsonist set fire to this room, which caused lots of damage, and much of it had to be replaced. You can see some of that damage on the interior of the wall on the right. From here, if you go towards the front of the house, you enter into the family sitting room. It is cozy and less ornate than the parlor, but it was used for the family to spend time together. Upstairs, there are 3 bedrooms and the original bathroom on the 2nd floor. This fireplace and the one in the family sitting room are both slate, but they were painted black to resemble black marble. On to the bathroom. You can see the commode chair on the left, which was most likely used with a chamber pot underneath it. This bathroom actually had cold and hot water, and I'll explain how that was achievable in a moment. From the 2nd floor hall, you can go out onto the balcony. You can have a beautiful view of the carriage house, slave quarters, and the yard. Up to the attic. This 3rd floor was used for the children's bedrooms. It's a bit dark up here, but the children made it work. This is the tank room. And another bedroom. As I mentioned, the bathroom downstairs had cold and hot water. This was made possible through this tank room. Guy, the butler and coachman, pumped water every morning from the basement through a pipe up to this 3rd floor. It was then heated up here and used gravity pressure to go down to the bathroom as well as the kitchen and the basement floor. Here is one of the children's bedrooms. This room could have been used as a nursemaid's room or a dressing room. As the children spent a lot of time up here, they played a lot. Here they used this crawl space as a play stage. One of the best things about this house is its belvedere. As you walk up the stairs from the attic, this is this view that you see. The belvedere was used for ventilation so that hot air could escape through its open windows. But a cool feature is that it shows you a 360 view of downtown Wilmington, and you can see the house's original tin roof. You can see many of Wilmington's great monuments. Now let's go down to the basement. This rear area that you see on the left was the busiest area of the house. From Guy pumping water up to the 3rd floor, Sarah the cook bringing food in and out of the doors, and coal being brought in and out of the kitchen, you can imagine how busy it really was. This area on the right was underneath the stairs and was used for coal storage. Now let's go through that left-hand door into the kitchen. The kitchen was a bit dark, but it had lots of storage space. Its lockers and shelves were used for pots, pans, and food. An interesting feature of this kitchen was that it wasn't connected to the dining room. It was this that prevented heat, smells, and noise from entering the dining room from the kitchen. It even had a built-in cooking range. These were most common in hotels, but because of the Bellamy's large family, it suited them well. This one is not the original, but is from just a few years later. From the back of the kitchen, you can enter into the ironing room, where slaves ironed the Bellamy's clothes and blankets. From here, you can go out into the hallway to the back of the house where you enter into the butler's pantry. Here is where the slaves put the finishing touches on the food before bringing it to the dining room. On the right, you can see the original built-in shelves. Now into the dining room. This dining room was not as elaborate as some of this time period, but it was comfortable and it provided great light as well as ventilation when the windows were open. This basement was called a daylight or an English basement, which meant it was partially underground. Dr. Bellamy did not like cocktails or wine, but he had plenty of tea and coffee. On the left, you can see an example of a menu for Christmas dinner. As you can imagine, there were many elaborate parties hosted here. That's all we've got for today. I hope you enjoyed our tour of the Bellamy Mansion. See you next time.